Hello everyone, a very good morning to one and all present here. Welcome to Texila e-conference knowledge series. Thank you for joining today's webinar session. My name is Divya Bhupati and I am the SEO analyst at Texila e-conference. Texila e-conference is the leader in organizing online conferences and has been helping entrepreneurs, marketers and professionals achieve their goals. Texila e-conference, being an information hub, has networked 300 plus international speakers from top brands and shared abundant knowledge to people across the globe. It has hosted EV conferences from 2014 and has inspired people to exchange information on a virtual platform. Today, we are going to learn about the art of personal branding in the age of social media, presented by Mr. Francis Miranda, best-selling author and inspirational speaker. Before we get started, I want to share a few operating instructions. Attendee, please check your audio settings to make sure the presentation is audible. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them in the chat box. You can also click the raise hand button at the top so that the presenter will get an alert. Now, without further delay, we will join the session with Mr. Francis Miranda. Mr. Francis Miranda is the Unapologetic Dude. After a fruitful 17 years in advertising spanning stints in Barcelona, Kuala Lumpur and Manila, he decided to embark on being a professional speaker. He is an irreverently inspirational speaker based in New York and Manila. His style is humorous, thought-provoking and energetic. He currently the CEO of Unapologetic Inc, as well as the head of Unapologetic Inspirepreneur Training program, which trains inspirepreneurs. He is a mentor and a coach and has written 2 best-selling books in the Philippines. Unapologetic: How to Kick People Pleasing in the Ass and WTF. Unlock your creativity through questions. He is also a partner of 360 Fitness Club and Braveworks Studios. When he is not inspiring people, he dedicates his time to pursuit of his passion, which is traveling the world. Now, it's time to welcome our wonderful speaker, Mr. Francis Miranda. Hi sir, welcome to Texila e-conference knowledge series. It's a good pleasure to have you here.
It is my honor to be here today. I'm doing quite well here. I want this to be a very interactive session. So what I would love is that if I ask a question, you guys type the answers in the chat box so that we can keep it interactive. I can see what you guys are doing. Today we're going to talk about personal branding. It's something that I really, really love to do. It's something that's I'm very passionate about. So let's get on to it right now. So right now, I want you to type, I'm going to give you a couple of categories. I want you to type, what is the first thing that pops to your mind? Okay? So the first thing that pops to your mind, when I say search engine, why don't you type what is the first thing that pops to your mind when you think about the word search engine? The second thing I want to ask is, what comes to your mind, the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about a luxury car? What is a luxury car for you? There. I want you to think of a brand. What is the first brand that comes to your mind when you think of a luxury car? What brand pops to your mind right now? For the next, I want you to think of a brand, right? The first brand that pops to your mind when I say computer company. So computer company. Next, what comes to your mind when you think about the word coffee shop? Coffee shop. So we have search engine, luxury car, computer company, and coffee shop. Now, I want to find out, when I said search engine, for those of you who weren't able to type, was Google the first thing that came to your mind? So for majority of people, whenever I give a workshop on branding and I talk about search engine, maybe 90% of people, they're going to raise their hands and say, it's Google. And for luxury car, Mercedes-Benz. So that's right. So one of our friends says Mercedes-Benz. And again, majority of people, they talk about Mercedes-Benz. Whenever I say luxury car, Mercedes-Benz. A couple of them would say BMW. A couple of them would say Ferrari, right? Next, when you talk about computer company, majority of the people that I talk to, they would always say Apple. That would be the first thing that pops to their mind. I don't know about you guys, but here in the Philippines and in the United States, when I say computer company, Apple is the first thing that comes to mind. And then lastly, when it comes to coffee shop, there's the Starbucks. I don't know how it is there where you guys live, but here in the Philippines, you say coffee shop, Starbucks. In New York, you say coffee shop, majority of people, they're going to say Starbucks. And all of this simply showcases to us the power of good branding. I mean, this is why branding is so important to us. It's because branding is what people remember us with. We've witnessed this, how powerful branding is, because these brands have owned the category. When you say search engine, Google has owned the category. Now, since right now we're going to be talking about personal branding, it's important to us to realize, why is personal branding very important? Well, it goes down to the simple fact that social media is a very personal media. All of this changed. This entire branding landscape changed, because before, when you talk about media, the only media people media people would know is television, is print, and is radio. Right now, things had changed. Social media came about. In the last generation, social media just popped up. And social media is very personal. It's personal media. In TV, in print, and in radio, we simply had no choice but to absorb the brands that were shoved down our throats by, let's say, advertisers, by the television studios, by the publishers. Now, in social media, we become the channels. We create our own content that people consume. Therefore, social media gave birth to the rise of the personal brand. And the personal brand is each and every one of us, we have that. So therefore, what's important for us is we have to learn to manage our own online identity, because that's also what personal branding is all about. It's all about managing our personal identity, who we are online, right? And I think it's very important when I discover. So I also have my personal brand, and how did I discover it? What was the process by which I discovered this personal brand? I'm going to share with you the story of my midlife crisis. So, my midlife crisis. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am 42 years old. Okay, like what our host said at the beginning. I've been in advertising for 17 years, and my entire life. So, I started out as a copywriter. Then I became an associate creative director. I became a managing director, and I became eventually a CEO of an ad agency. So, my personal brand was, I was an advertising creative person. I was a creative leader in advertising. And as with any midlife crisis, when you hit 40, things start to change. And at 40, I started to wonder, okay, what is it that I want to be? What do I want to be now that I'm 40? What's the major change I want to do in my life? And I figured, okay, maybe it's time for me to leave advertising and figure out what should I stand for now in the remaining half of my life. And it was such a difficult choice for me, because my personal brand has always been advertising. I've always been known as the advertising guy. Could I be known as someone else? So what I did was I went on a 2-month vacation. I did a soul searching trip. So I traveled everywhere. I went to Australia, I went to New Zealand, I went to the United States, I went to Colombia, and I went to Peru, just to search my soul on what it is that I wanted to do and what it is that I wanted to stand up. And I realized that, okay, based on my personal truth, there are certain things that I'm pretty good at. I'm pretty good at presenting, I'm pretty good at delivering a talk, and at the same time, I'm pretty good at inspiring people. That's one thing. Like every person I've mentored, every staff member who's gone through the ranks when I was leading them, they would always say, okay, you were always an inspirational leader. You were somebody who we looked up to. But the one thing I also discovered is I was pretty irreverent. Among my friends, I'm the type of person who just says things out. I just say things the way they are. And for a country like us in the Philippines, to be very direct is not something people are used to. But one of my first jobs, I was working in Barcelona, and one of the things that I learned in Barcelona was, it's better to be direct. Now, wait, before we go, there's a question from Marilyn Manson. how to overcome situations where people pass negative judgments on the content you deliver. Okay, so, well, the truth, Marilyn, is that not everyone, you're not going to be able to please everyone. That's one thing I learned also. And that's also one of the things, it's funny you mentioned that at this point in the talk, because that's one of the things that I learned when I started to become an inspirational speaker, that I was also a people pleaser, that I wanted people to like me. But as you as you start to develop your own personal brand, you'll discover that you can't get everyone to like you. So the objective is, how do you overcome situations when people pass negative comments? It's very simple. Negative comments, they're just feedback. They're just feedback. Sometimes we put some sort of a judgment on them, but if we just look at them as feedback, hey, this is information. This is simply information that is being given to me. If that's how we view it, then suddenly we realize, okay, there are some things about this comment that I can take, that I think are worth taking. There are others that I'll just throw away. And that for me is the best way to do it. And it's funny that you asked this question at this moment, because that's exactly also what I learned. That when I wanted to become a speaker, I wanted to be a speaker that could stand up and tell people, hey, you know what? Your voice is very important. Your voice matters. You don't need to listen to the negative opinions of other people. And that became the basis of my personal brand, which I'm now going to share with you, which is Irreverent Inspirepreneur. So what is Irreverent Inspirepreneur? Irreverent Inspirepreneur is really all about me being a person who inspires other people, but at the same time, there's a level of irreverence. I try to push people beyond their comfort zone. And right now we have additional questions coming in. Is it okay, guys? Let's keep asking the questions, then we'll go to them afterwards. We're going to have a section where I'm going to answer all these questions. Is that okay, everyone? So right now, I want to share with you what I believe is an unapologetic truth. An unapologetic truth is that if you're clear with your personal branding, that's going to open the doors of your opportunity. So I go back to when I decided that I want to be a speaker that will push people to do uncomfortable things, that will push people to bring out their full potential. And sometimes when you need to push people to bring out their full potential, you gotta say uncomfortable things. And most speakers here in the Philippines, they're very nice, very inspiring. But I wanted to be the type of speaker that was gonna push you. And the moment I was clear about that I wanted to be an irreverent inspirepreneur, things started to happen. Now I'll share with you a funny story, okay? So the funny story was that I said earlier, I came from a 2-month vacation, right? I went all over the world, and of course, eventually, you have to go back to Manila to work because you spent a lot of money, right? So I was flying back I was flying back on the plane when suddenly the plane crossed the international dateline, and suddenly I entered into this weird panic attack where I was so scared that, okay, I'm going back, I'm unemployed, I'm gonna start to build my brand as an irreverent inspirepreneur, but oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? And the funny thing was, because I was clear that I wanted to be a speaker, the moment I landed in the Philippines, I was getting a haircut. That was the first thing I did. The moment I landed in the Philippines, suddenly somebody called me out of the blue asking me if I still did talks. And that for me was, wow, amazing. Immediately, 2 hours after landing in Manila, coming from the United States, I booked my first talk. And the lesson here is that when you are clear with your brand, suddenly, this is where the doors of opportunity open. So John Lewis asked, when exactly should you start personal branding? If you want to start from scratch, you got to start thinking about it now. And I'm going to take us through the process on how we start to build that personal brand. Okay? So we'll now go to some basics. Let's now define what branding is all about. So what do you understand about branding? Now, the common textbook definition of branding is this. Branding is the marketing practice of creating a name, a symbol, or design that identifies and differentiates a product from other products. Now, if we were to highlight that, the important element of this definition is that it identifies and differentiates a product from other products. A brand makes, that's what spells the difference between what's having an iPhone and having maybe a Samsung. What is the difference between the two products, right? So that maybe the same is true for a bar of soap. What separates one bar of soap from another? That's what branding is. But in today's era of personal branding, how should we define personal branding? Personal branding, therefore, is the process of marketing individuals as brands, which means as individuals, as professionals, as entrepreneurs, we can market ourselves as brands. It's funny how things have changed. Before, you just work in your company, you climb up the corporate ranks, and your main branding is simply your resume or your curriculum vitae. That's it. The internet has changed everything. You have your LinkedIn, where a lot of employers, a lot of opportunities come. And if you guys are not, I'm part of the LinkedIn team here in the Philippines. We organize LinkedIn meetups here where we teach people how to use LinkedIn. And if you are not in LinkedIn, you better get on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is a fantastic area where you start to build your brand, because LinkedIn is not just an online resume. LinkedIn is where you position yourself as a thought leader. And what does it mean to be a thought leader? It means to create a brand that makes you stand out from other people. Let's say one person was asking, what is the significance of branding in healthcare? If you are a healthcare professional, for example, let's say you are a medical representative. So there are hundreds of other medical representatives there. Your LinkedIn, your personal branding should start to talk about what differentiates you from other medical representatives. For example, are you a medical representative who puts value in relationships? So you are the relational med rep, where you would spend so much of your time getting to know doctors to try to talk to them and give them information. Are you the med rep who is specialized in scientific knowledge? Are you the med rep that's specialized in feminine and female medications that are just for women? These are the things that make you different, and these are the things that make you stand out. And the founder of Amazon, one of the richest persons in the world, says that personal branding it's simply what people say about you when you leave the room. That's what Jeff Bezos says. And that for me is an important element of what personal branding is. It's what people say about us the moment we exit a room. It's the reputation that we have. My reputation is, people know me as a very inspiring person, but they also know me as a very irreverent person. That when I give a talk, I'm not a very kind, nice person. Like, you should follow your dreams. You should follow your dreams. No. Whenever I give a talk, I'm very straightforward. I'm very harsh. And pardon the language that I'm gonna share with you. Like, I'll sometimes tell people that, you know what your problem is? Your problem is you're effing lazy. You have to get out. And that's how I inspire people. I would inspire people with humor. I'll inspire people with powerful words. And that's what defines me. That's what people say about me when I leave the room. And the question now I want to ask you guys as we proceed further is, what do you want people to say about you when you leave the room? So therefore, that thing that people will say about you, that needs work on your end. Because good brands are brands that you create. It's not a brand that suddenly is accidental. It's just that, okay, people think that you're a great worker because of an accident. No. Or sometimes, the worst brands, that people think you're a sloppy worker because you never really built any brand. Or people think that you are timid and you're shy because you never speak out. Even though you have a great idea, you're too afraid to tell it. You're too afraid to speak it out. Therefore, the brand that you get of people is, she's very timid, she's very shy, she's just good to type stuff, but she doesn't have any opinions. That's why it's important for us to build a brand, because these are the things that people will start to notice. So now, before we proceed, I'd like to talk about 3 branding myths. Okay, so a lot of people, whenever I give workshops on branding, people would always have these myths that they're afraid of. Number one, they say that, is branding the same as advertising? Number 2, is branding only for big companies? Number 3, branding is expensive. So let's dismantle some of these myths, one by one. So the first, branding is the same as advertising. Branding is not advertising. Branding is all about identifying what makes you stand out, and you highlight it, making it the way people describe you. Branding is the foundation of advertising. So if you're going to advertise, you got to understand what your brand is, because otherwise the advertising is going to suck. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be annoying, right? And advertising is the result of branding. So that's the first myth that we dismantled, that branding is the same as advertising. The second, branding is for big companies. No, branding is even for small companies. I do a lot of branding for entrepreneurs who are putting up their own businesses. Branding is simply all about knowing what you stand for as a person and letting your customers know that. Knowing what you stand for as a lawyer, knowing what you stand for as a graphic designer. Are you the graphic designer that dares to challenge convention and people will know that? Or are you the safe and dependable graphic designer? You're gonna do safe designs, but then there's going to be a safe design, but then you're reliable. So there are companies that will work well with you because these are companies that just require you to do templates. So if you want to be known as a graphic designer, good for you. So each and every one of us, that's our branding as individuals. We're not big companies, we're individuals, and we're able to do that. Third, a lot of people say branding is expensive, and the truth is it can be expensive, but it doesn't have to be. And all that you need to invest in to get started is to invest in a lot of thinking. And that's what we're going to do today. Okay? So now I'll share with you the unapologetic truth for today. The unapologetic truth is that branding is actually your ways of success. A lot of people say that, okay, I shouldn't invest in my personal branding, but the truth of the matter is the branding, it's like ways. It guides you to the road to lead you to your ultimate goal. So, for example, my goal is I want to be an internationally renowned speaker, right? So I wanted to be an internationally renowned speaker. That's my end goal. So my branding is irreverent inspiration. That means that if I want to be known as an international speaker, I want to be known as a speaker who is irreverent, who will push you to the right direction. So that simple phrase of irreverent inspiration is what defines everything that I do. It defines the types of books that I write. It defines the blog entries that I put. It defines the content I put on Facebook. So all of this leads me to gain this reputation as being the irreverent inspiration speaker. Now, am I popular with every particular client? No. There are people who won't hire me because precisely I'm irreverent, but there are companies who love me precisely because I'm irreverent. And the same is true with you. To answer the question earlier, negative criticism, negative comments about your content, it's the same. There will be people who will like you, there will be people who won't like you. And I'm gonna go back to one statement that I love saying, branding is not all about being famous, it's about being known. What's the difference between being famous and being known? Being famous is that people are aware of you. Let's say Madonna is famous, let's say Tom Cruise is famous. But then, do they really make an impact in our lives? Being known is that you are relevant to a certain circle of people. You might not be relevant to the entire universe, but you're relevant to a particular tribe, a particular circle of people that you are able to help transform. You are able to give them service. You're able to help them in ways that other people cannot. So that's what it is. Branding is all about being known. And as we develop our own personal brands, our objective is what do we want to be known for? And there's a movie I love. It's called The Greatest Showman. There's one line there that I really, really love. It says, it's when the wife says, you don't need everyone to love you. You just need a few good ones. And that's true. Going back to the question earlier, you don't need the entire world to love you. You will get positive, you will get negative comments on anything that you do. But as long as you discover the tribe that loves you and you take care of that tribe, then that's all that matters. You just need a few good ones. So now, we're going to go now into the process of doing your personal branding. So I wanted to keep it easy and fun. Okay, so essentially there are 4 pillars to doing your personal branding. And I say it's the right say, the right bay. I don't know if you use the word bay there in where you're coming from, but it's the right bay, the right hey, and the right yay. So what are these 4 things? Let's go to them one by one. The right say is who do you say you are? The right bay is who is your brand sweetheart? Who will your brand court? The right hey is what is the content that tells your story and your personal culture? And the right yay is what is the consistent experience they will have with your brand. Now I'm going to go through these one by one. Let's start off with the right say. So the very first one is the right say. Who do you say you are? What makes you stand out? What are you known for as a person, right? So I want you to go and think about it right now. as a professional, as an entrepreneur, each and every one of us is different. But what do people tend to notice about you the most? What is the best thing that they tend to notice? Do they notice the fact that you're always punctual? Do they notice the fact that you're trustworthy? Do they notice the fact that you're efficient? Do they notice the fact that you are creative? And you don't need to be good in everything, but it's what people tend to notice about you. That's the right say, and that's the foundation of your personal brand. Like what I said, it's not about being famous, it's about being known for something. So when you look into what your clients, your colleagues, your customers say about you, then you'll get to understand, okay, this is a good starting point for me. So I want you to think about that right now. Think about what are the things that people say about you, the good things, okay? And that's the first foundation of it. Now the second is you have that good thing that people tend to notice about you. Who's the right bay? So the right bay in the Philippines, bay is like a partner. It's like a sweetheart, right? So who's the right bay? Who will your brand court? And you need to understand who is the right customer for you. So for example, you're a small entrepreneur who does cakes for weddings, right? So therefore, your right bay would be potential brides or people potentially getting married. If you are a social media manager who's specializing in small and medium enterprises, then you know that you gotta look out for SMEs who who are looking for an affordable social media manager but knows the latest in technology. If you are a fashion designer targeting millennials, so therefore you know that you're talking to young millennial fashion designers. If you are a corporate person wanting to go up, let's say, in the pharmaceutical industry and to rise up the ranks in the pharmaceutical industry, you know that your market are HR people in other pharmaceutical industries, and you gotta let them know, okay, who do you stand for? Why should you hire me? Why should you consider getting me for your company? And you need to be able to describe the customer who needs the service or the product. And the clearer your description, the better you'll be able to reach them. I'm going to give you a couple of examples later from small and medium entrepreneurs and personal brands that I've helped create here in the Philippines to let you understand this. But bottom line, I want you now to think about who's your main customer as a personal brand, okay? Next, the right hey. The right hey is simply what is the type of content that you use. As we build our own personal brands, and like what I said earlier, we're using social media a lot. We create content on our own. So what are the type of things that we post? The right hey is the type of content that we use. So what are the channels we'll be using? Are we going to be predominantly on LinkedIn? Are we going to be using Facebook? Are we going to be using Instagram? Are you going to be using SlideShare? There are many things. And what content that we create will help people connect with them. So me, the way I do content is that every day at 9 p.m. I post a short 3-minute video about being unapologetic, about being more assertive every day, about making decisions that might not be popular, but you gotta make them. Decisions that stand for your character. So I post these videos every day, and if you wanna follow me, please follow me in Facebook. My Facebook handle is Mirandism. I'm gonna share with you the links later, but that's it. Each person, they create content. The content I create for Facebook is different from the content I create in LinkedIn, because in LinkedIn it's more about being a thought leader, an opinion leader. So therefore I create more blogs talking about issues. I create more stories to talk about that. In Facebook it's more personal, so I interview people, and all of these are meant to target what my target market, my bay, which I call world changers, people who want to rock the boat and change the world. The last one is the right yay. So what is the consistent experience with you that will make your base say yay? Each person, there's a consistent experience that people have with us. So I want you to now think, what is a concrete and consistent experience that people have when they deal with you? Because consistency results in exponential results. So personally, like me, when people deal with me, they already expect it's going to be humorous. I'm going to be tough in my questions. I always ask tough questions, and that is a consistent experience. But at the end of it, even though I ask the tough questions, people come out of it feeling empowered because that's the experience I want for people. That's the experience I created because that's also connected to who I am as a person. I'm a very straightforward person. I say what I mean. So that's what I also want whenever I coach people, whenever I talk people. So the marriage of all of these is what therefore I now call the brand anthem. And today I want you guys to also learn how to do your own personal brand anthem because your brand anthem summarizes everything. So a brand anthem is composed for me as an adjective and a noun. So the adjective is what differentiates you from the rest. The noun is a one-word description of your product. My anthem is irreverent inspiration. What does irreverent inspiration mean? It means that my noun is inspiration. That's the product. I give irreverence. I give inspiration. Sorry, I give inspiration to everyone. And my adjective is irreverent. My brand of inspiration is very, very in your face. That's different from empowering inspiration. That's different from caring inspiration. There are other people who are good at that. I'm not good at warm, fuzzy, caring inspiration. I'm good at irreverent inspiration. I'm gonna tell you, hey, you know what? You gotta get off your ass. You gotta make things happen, and and that is who I am. Now, when when that is clear, like in my case, when my irreverent inspiration is clear, I know every opportunity that I can go to, every opportunity suddenly becomes available. Because I know I'm irreverent, I would target companies that I know are not conservative, companies who like to rock the boat, companies I know who have a lot of millennials, because a lot of millennials, they value this, they value being irreverent, being told in their face that this is what you need to do. And I want you to also figure out for yourself now, what could be your anthem? And to help you, I'm sharing with you a couple of case studies that I did. Okay, so these are small and medium entrepreneurs and personal brands. So I chose small brands because I wanted to be able to share with you how it applies to individuals. So the very first one is a girl named Flo Baker. So it's funny because her name has the word baker in it, and she is a baker. So it's amazing how that happened. And when we go through the channels that I mentioned earlier, her say, when we were talking about it, what does she want? What does she want out of her products? You know, one thing that Flo told me is that Flo, as far as I know her, she's always been the queen of surprises. Every time there's a surprise birthday party, she would be the one to plan it. She loves giving people surprises. And she used to be in advertising, and now she decided, I'm going to put up my own baking kingdom. So, what she did was, her say was, she said, I wanted, because I'm a person who likes surprises, the her one big message that defines her, that differentiates her, is an unexpected surprise in every bite. So Flo wanted to create products that always had an unexpected surprise. And her target market are surprise junkies who get an emotional high after surprising everyone. So she wants to also go for people who love surprises. Meaning, oh my gosh, I love a good surprise. Her hey, what are the channels she uses? Flo uses a lot of social media. She talks about her products there. Of course, Pinterest, because she does a lot of baked goods. And baked goods, Pinterest is the best place for it. The blogs, she sends a lot of her stuff to bloggers so bloggers can write about it. And of course, the baked goods itself. And what is the yay? What is the unique experience you'd get if you buy a Flo Baker product? In her product, inside every baked good is a surprise, unexpected taste element. There's a hidden surprise story. So, when she creates a cupcake, right smack in the middle of the cupcake, there's an unexpected taste flavor, like wasabi in the middle of a white chocolate cupcake. So, you're eating the cupcake, and in the middle, you suddenly discover, boom, there's this surprise. There's this flavor. In the wedding cakes that she does, she will always put a hidden surprise for the bride and the groom to look for. And before she delivers the cake, she gives the bride and the groom a little card that says, I've hidden a surprise here for you. You gotta look for it. Therefore, her anthem in the form of her hashtag is hidden surprise. Like the noun is the surprise, the adjective is hidden. So in Flo's case, her baking product, her baking empire is built over the idea that all of her products has a hidden surprise inside. And that's what differentiates her from other bakers, from other small and medium bakers here in the Philippines. She's the only one that does that. Now, let's go to real estate. So this is a person who he owns a real estate company. His name is Jeffrey. His handle is Kaselfie. He likes taking selfies, so that's who he is, right? His say is that when I asked him about his story, so what defines you as a real estate agent? He said that, in the Philippines, when people buy property, they don't just buy it for themselves. They buy property that they can inherit to their kids. So that process of inheriting things is very important. Because when you talk about property, it's not meant to be kept by you forever. Eventually, you're meant to pass it on to your loved ones, to your children, right? So he said that he wanted to create service that his clients can trust well enough that he can pass it down to their kids. So for example, his say is trusted service you can pass down to your children. He's thinking long term. He wants to be able to build trust in his clients, that a trust that spans generations, which means when the parents have kids who are now about to buy their own property, the same kids will buy from him. And this guy lives in a province called Bulacan in the Philippines. And in Bulacan, the culture there is families are very tight knit. Trust is very important. So you deal with families. Families deal with families. And that's what he was doing. And his target market are Bulaqueño parents, people from Bulacan, who are buying property for their children but are unaware to go about it. He's targeting an older generation who, a lot of them, there's so many rules about buying property in the Philippines, so a lot of them are overwhelmed by this. So what Jeff does is he makes the buying process so easy for them by giving them information they need for every step along the way. So the way he does it is he uses social media, he uses video blogs. This is for the younger generation, but for the older generation, he uses informational content. In every step of the process, what Jeff does is he has a printout of every process that the mom or the dad needs to understand when they're buying a property. When he sends them a contract for them to sign, in every area where they need to sign or they need to fill out something, he puts a small sticker, a small post-it note, which scribbles down what do you need to do there. It's tedious work for him. But for him, it's the work that works. Because suddenly, he's able to build the trust of the parents of the kids. And the unique experience he gives to people is that he gives them patient explanation. He gives them a step-by-step process on each document that he emails to them, and more importantly, he spends dinner with the family. So his hashtag is inherited trust. It's trust. As a real estate agent, you can trust me enough that you can pass me on to your siblings. The next one is this guy, Raf. So Raf is he's in HR. He's in human resources in the biggest beer company in the Philippines, right? But Raf wants to be a speaker. He wants to be a singer. He wanted to be a singer, and Ralph is an amazing singer. He wants to break into the show business by being a singer. And the message of when we were talking about it and I was discussing his personal brand with him, he said, okay, he wanted to talk about the idea of pursuing your passion, of following your passion. But then again, passion is something everyone else talks about, right? Now, it's easy, you should pursue your passion. But we know that that's not easy to do. So I told him that, passion comes from the Latin word passio, which means to suffer. And maybe the message of his songs is that following your passion is painful, but it will always be worth it. And isn't that what passion is? Passion is something that we want to do even though it's difficult. It's not that it's things that are easy to do. Passion for us is always difficult. And his target market is he wants to go for young millennials who want to pursue their passion but are afraid of what it will entail. Here in the Philippines, your parents dictate a lot of what it is that you need to do. So a lot of millennial kids, they want to pursue passions that are different from the ideas. Like you want to be a lawyer, you have to be a lawyer, you have to be a doctor. And And these are the safe careers. So a lot of millennials want to get out of that. So Ralph will use his music to be able to talk about that. His Hey, what are the channels he uses? He uses social media. He's also an MC at the side, so he uses hosting gigs and he creates an original song for each of the hosting gigs that he does. Spotify is a channel he uses. He uploads his songs in Spotify and in SoundCloud, and he creates a lot of videos. And his ZA is every song he creates is hope filled and it's always based on his personal story or a true story of somebody. It's always an original song. And his hashtag is positive pain. He defined passion as pain, but it's pain that's worth it. Therefore, it's pain that's positive. Our last example is me. So like what I was saying earlier, my brand is, I'm called Unapologetic Dude, but my anthem is Irreverent Inspiration. So the company I created is called Unapologetic Dude, and I want to teach people to not be people pleasers, meaning to believe in your conviction so much that even if other people don't agree with you, it's okay. And my say is I want content that it's inspiring, yet irreverently leads you to action. Here in the Philippines, there's a lot of inspirational speakers, but I'm fed up of inspiration where you just sit there and be inspired. I always have this saying. I say that the true proof of inspiration is to get shit done. Because it's pointless for you to be inspired but not to do anything, right? My target market is I want to target aspiring change makers. These are people who want to change the world, but they're hindered by fear because of what their parents will say, what people around them will say. They hate the status quo and they want to effect a major change in their life. So how do I reach out to people? What are the channels? I use talks, I use workshops, blogs, videos, and social media. When people deal with me, the consistent experience they have with me is I'm always irreverent, I'm predisposed to action, and I'm empowering. In every talk that I give, there's always a call to action. You gotta do something. And that's important for me. I always have this saying, and I carry this with me all the time. It's get shit done. So you gotta get your shit done because sometimes it's a lot of times we just listen to inspiration and it stays there. Let's say, we attend talks like this, but we don't do anything. So it's kind of pointless. It's a waste of our time. So we might as well do something about it, right? And so now, for the work component, I want you to do this if it's possible. I want you, as you kickstart your branding journey, I want you to take a photo of this slide right now, and I want you on your own time after the workshop to fill out how it is that you feel how it is that you feel you want to build your brand. And I want to help you in that. So I want you to email me so jot down this email, francis@unapologeticdude.com. I want you to email me this finished form. And what I'm going to do is, based on what I read, I'm going to give you some points and ask you some questions to help you build your brand. But this is how we get our shit done. I want you to do this form, fill it out, and email it to me. Is that okay, everyone? Great. So as we end this talk and as we open it to questions, I want to talk about unapologetic branding one last time. Unapologetic branding, it's not just a logo for me, it's a story. What's the story you say as an individual? Your story is important. And it's not just a slogan or a motto, it's the culture that you have as a person. When you are when as an individual, you also have a culture of your own. My culture is I'm always funny, I'm always irreverent to people. I can be very pushy, and that's my culture. But then I use that to be able to help people achieve their goals. And unapologetic branding is not just about advertising, it's the experience people have with you. Their experience with you is very, very important. Because a good personal brand is always based on your personal truth. And I always say this, that each and everything comes into play. There you go. So please capture it. Let me know if it's okay to move on. I'll just have coffee. So, like what I said, a good personal brand is always based on your personal truth. And it's really the good, the bad, the ugly, and the wonderful. And as we create our personal brands, it's important also to know what's the good and the bad and the ugly, because sometimes our best brands come from our personal truth. And I'll share with you, how did Unapologetic Dude come about? How did I decide to become an irreverent, inspiring person? It's because when I was younger, I struggled with people pleasing, where I had so many dreams that I wanted to do, but I didn't do them because I was afraid of what other people were going to say. what other people were going to say. And that one for me was something that held back a lot of the things that I wanted to do. But only when I grew older and I discovered that, hey, you know what? You only have one life to live. So whatever it is that you want to do, just do it, because you're not going to please everyone anyway. There will be people who will like it, there are people who won't like you. But who cares? Just do it. Then that's when I started to build this brand. And that's why my brand is Unapologetic Dude, because I don't make any apology for my dreams and my ambitions. Okay, my email is, I'll write it down. There you go. So as we go about as we go about ending this branding project, I want you to understand that your unique skills, your unique strengths, your unique perspectives, and your unique opinions matter, and they form the part of your brand. Because sometimes it's very easy for us to lose our personal brand because of expectations of other people. But I want you to look into your unique strengths. I want you to look at your unique skills. You have a unique point of view. Your other colleagues, your family, your friends, they might have certain perspectives or points of views that are different from yours, and that's okay because your point of view matters. Every innovation we have in the world is because of somebody creating a unique point of view that no one has ever thought of before. And your opinions matter as well, and that plays into your personal brand. Because at the end of the day, your personal truth, your unique truth is your personal brand. What life has Everything that life has given you leading up to this moment has prepared you to create this personal brand of yours that you want to be known for. And your unique truth tells the world the role you are going to play in transforming it. Very glad to be here today in the Texila e-conference knowledge series. I'm so glad to be present here in front of so many world changers. As I end the talk, I wanted to say, let's all change the world together. So thank you very much, everyone. If you want to connect with me, these are the places you can connect with me: on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and on my website. That's it. I'm going to have a couple of questions here. We're going to answer a few questions, okay? So the second question, where exactly should I start personal branding if I want to start from scratch? You start first by doing an assessment of who you are, of what are your strengths. Using the chart that I gave you, that's a good place to start, and you start to fill that up so that you can crystallize it. A lot of people, the challenge is, for a lot of people, the challenge is they don't write things down. I'm a firm believer of writing things down. I'm kind of old-fashioned that I know I do love technology. I have every gadget possible, but I still like having a notebook because whenever I start to think about my personal brand and things I want to do, I really jot it down in a notebook because it's very helpful for me. So you can start off your personal branding by filling out that form. I think that's the biggest thing. For Relebo Hill, what is the significance of branding in healthcare? Again, there are different in healthcare. There are so many healthcare professionals there. So how do you want to rise up above the ranks? And again, it depends on the type of area in healthcare you're involved in. If you're, let's say, a doctor, let's say you are an oncologist, of course, ethically, you're not supposed to advertise as an oncologist, but how can people relate to you as an oncologist? Are you the oncologist who is caring but very direct? Meaning, whenever I have a patient who's scared of cancer because they got diagnosed with cancer, my job is I'm going to be very compassionate towards this person, but I will also be very direct. I will tell them in a very direct way, but a very loving way, what the situation is and what are the things that need to be done. You could also be the oncologist who is very just purely scientific, meaning people go to you because they want the unvarnished truth. They want every scientific possibility to treat their cancer. So again, that's how it helps in healthcare. It defines you as a healthcare professional. So Carla's question is how to find where our starting point should be. You find your starting point precisely by identifying what are the good things people tend to say about you. So what are the good habits that you have that people admire you for? Are you punctual? Are you creative? Are you a rebel? Because sometimes that's a good brand. You know what? You know what's good about you? You always give the unpopular opinion. That's a good brand because you're the person. Your personal brand can be unpopular opinions because every organization needs somebody to give the unpopular opinions. Because if all say yes in our organization, then what's going to happen to our organization? It's not going to grow. So you're going to be the person known as the unpopular opinion person. I have a friend. His personal brand is tough questions. Whenever he coaches people, he would always ask these really difficult questions. As in, oh my gosh, it's like he got a knife and he stabbed it in your heart. That's how this person asks this question. But then because of these hard questions, he is able to help these people. So Mike Chili, what makes people think mine as an authentic brand? Again, you can't fake authenticity. That's why authenticity is always based on your personal truth. It's who you are. So who you are is an important aspect of the brand. If you are an impatient person, how do you make that into a positive? When you're an impatient person, you can be known as the person who, because I'm impatient, I get things done quickly, and that's it. See, a negative can be a positive in a brand when you talk about, oh, you're so impatient. Oh, but because I'm impatient, things get done. That becomes your personal brand. Okay, I have a question. Can you suggest a way to optimize and express my personal branding? What I tend to do is, if for my personal branding is, I basically create a Facebook page. I create my own personal logo that represents who I am as the unapologetic dude, and that's in fact the first logo that you saw earlier. Because for me, that's my way. Every time I look at that, I'm reminded of who I am. If you see my logo earlier, the one eyebrow is raised up because that's what being unapologetic is for me. It's like, huh? That doesn't sound right to me. So that's how I would optimize and express my personal branding. I'll start to create content for it. So if you say that you are, let's go back to that example of that impatient person that you get things done quickly. So how do you express that personal branding? In your content, you can talk about the evils of procrastination. You can talk about how you need to get things done immediately. You can talk about your personal impatience. The objective is to create a body of content that brings to life that particular brand. Okay? Um, do anything offline for personal branding other than what you do in an online medium. So, Charles, actually, everything you do is part of your branding. How you deal with people is part of your branding. So, um, I know of people that their personal branding is that after every time a client finishes a contract with this person sends a postcard because, and it's so funny because the story of this person is that he does consultancy because he likes to travel. So in essence, his consultancy pays for his travels, and people know that. So his unique offline version of the experience is that every time he finishes a contract, he sends the client a postcard from whatever place he's in, because that's his way of saying thank you very much. I'm here because of you. You've helped me in that. So see, everything you do, if you say that you're the person who asks tough questions in the meetings, every time you're in a meeting, you ask the tough questions. That's how you create your offline personal branding. Okay. Rebel, yes, you can get this important presentation. I'll ask the presenter to send it to you guys. Shelly, what steps should I take to start building my personal brand if I'm new to social media? Well, the first step is again to create that brand first. Because if you start to build content in social media when your brand is not clear, then it's like it's like you're driving but you don't know the direction. Like what I said earlier, that it's like the ways of your content. Your personal brand will dictate it. Like mine is irreverent inspiration. So therefore, I create a lot of content that's kind of irreverent. So, but what are the steps that you need to start building your personal brand if you're new to social media? It's also to understand what social media you want to focus on. I focus predominantly on Facebook and on LinkedIn. So Facebook is for the personal side of Francis Miranda. LinkedIn is for the professional side of Francis Miranda. But there are people who use Pinterest more because Pinterest works for them. So you got to choose the one that works for you. Comparing search, social content marketing, and email marketing, what is effective for personal branding in the long perspective? Actually, the funny thing that you mentioned, Sandra, is all of them are very effective. But it again depends on your needs. For me, um, social is very very integral. But one thing I discovered recently, search engine optimization is an amazing tool. I'm still learning it myself, I will admit, but oh my gosh, I discovered how powerful it is, and I was like kicking myself in the ass that I didn't invest in this earlier. But the idea is you want to be searchable in Google for what your brand is known for. So for example, if I want to be known as irreverent inspiration or powerful speaker, I need to start investing in SEO. And in fact, that's what I'm doing right now. I just hired an SEO person to help me build that. But at the same time, the easiest place to start in is really social media, and content marketing is part of that, because at the end of the day, like what I said, branding is not about ads. It's about creating content, creating stories that talk about your brand experience, that position you as an expert in something. Let's say you're in the medical field, and let's say you are you're in the medical field, like a med rep. You start to post articles about new technologies, about new drug treatments, and you position yourself therefore as the expert in that. And that way, you start to build that body of content that defines your personal brand. Eddie Feld, what I have to focus on for the development of my new personal brand. Again, your personal truth, you got to figure that out for yourself and fill that form. You can send it to me. I will be glad to help you. How soon a person or prospect can be convinced to buy our stuff if I start my personal brand today? Let's say how many social media posts or just how many email. Well, that again, that's not a black and white. That's not a black and white question. For to get people to buy stuff, again, it depends on your product. To get people to buy stuff, email is an important part of it. Um, I do a lot. Part of what I do in Unapologetic Dude is we have a lot of workshops, and one thing that we realized works pretty well for us is an email list. So what I did was when I created my website, I gave out a free version of my ebook. So you can get a free version of my ebook as well. Just go to www.unapologeticdude.com. So, but what's important with giving that free ebook is I'm able to capture the email of people. And because I'm able to capture the email of people using MailChimp, I'm able to create mailer programs whenever we have new workshops. And the beauty of the workshop is that when you click the link, it leads you to the registration page. It also leads you on how you can pay for that workshop. So that way, it's a direct link. I'm able to suddenly track, okay, this emailer was able to deliver X amount of sales. But in your case, Zimzon, it depends on the type of product. If you have, let's say, an online store, then what you start to do is create links to the online store so people can buy from that store. Create content. Like when I do videos to promote workshops, I'd say in this video there's a link. If you want to join this workshop, click on this link. But the same is true. You can talk about your product, whatever product it is. Let's say you're selling cupcakes. You can have people talk about your cupcakes. You have a video blog saying, "Oh, I love this cupcake. If you want to buy this cupcake, we're selling it online. Just click on the link below." And that's it. How many social media posts or how many emails with informational content? The best rule of thumb is actually one social media post a day and one email or two emails a week. Because if you spam people with emails, that's the surest way they're going to unsubscribe you. Jane Tamayo, how effective are webinars for branding? Well, they're very effective. Webinars are an amazing tool for you, especially if you're an inspirepreneur like me. So an inspirepreneur is our main product is inspiration. We sell inspiration, and webinars help because they're able to interact with you even though you're not there. Because the truth of the matter is, like here, this is an amazing webinar because I'm here in the Philippines and you guys are everywhere in the world, and this is just amazing because I'm able to build my brand internationally thanks to webinars like this. So that's an opportunity for that you have to capitalize on. Webinars are also a good way to build your brand because they're a good way to have passive income. Because when you create, let's say, a webinar series and it's subscription based, meaning people pay for that series, even if you're not actually talking at that time, you're earning money from that. And that's passive income. That's a great idea. What are some tactics that a startup company can deploy to boost their reputation? Okay, the most important tactic is of course customer service. Really, a lot of people think there's a lot of online magic that has to be done, but it always starts with customer service. Um, One of the things I always tell my corporate clients whenever I do consultancy for them is what is the customer service culture that your company has? Because a great a great web post, a great video is not going to work if, let's say, when you deliver the product, it arrives a month late, or nobody answers a chat. Nobody, when somebody chats asking about the product, nobody answers this person. I own a gym here in the Philippines, so that's one of my businesses. I own a chain of gyms. We have 5 branches here in the Philippines, and we're gonna have a new branch in New York soon. So the experience that I'm very, very strict on in the gym is the bathroom. That's my one rule. Every time I visit a branch, I will always go to the bathroom, and the bathroom has to be clean. And my definition of a clean bathroom is the floor of the shower is dry, which means after every client showers, the janitor has to come in and dry the floor. That's an experience, and that is the best way to kickstart your reputation. Because here in the Philippines, some gyms are get bad reputation because of the bathroom. And if we're able to say that the bathroom is clean, then suddenly things change. Um, which social media platform is good for personal branding? Like James, like what I said, it depends on the type of brand that you are. If you are a professional brand and you want to be noticed by headhunters, for example, LinkedIn is definitely the best place for you to be in. But if you have, let's say, products that you want to sell, Facebook. If the products are things that you can photograph well, Instagram is a very good place to be. And when you use Instagram, for example, the key to Instagram is the ability to use the hashtag. You have to use your hashtag well. And here's a tip. The hashtag has to be as generic as possible, because sometimes clients make this mistake of asking me, Francis, I want my hashtag to be hashtag Joseph hot dog is the best hot dog in the universe. That's not going to work. The best hashtag is hashtag hot dogs. Because when people are searching for hot dogs, your photo is going to pop up there. The photo of your product is going to pop up there. So don't make the mistake of coming up with crazy long hashtags. They don't work. What works for you are simple hashtags. Okay? So again, each social media platform is different depending on your need. You can research that also on your own. What is the main psychology for posting in social media? The main psychology is to always ask, how does your content help somebody in particular? So what is the problem your content is going to answer? So yesterday, the video I posted yesterday was all about the psychology of hesitation. Where I talked about people not pursuing their dreams because they hesitate. And I discovered that people hesitate because our brains are programmed to protect us from harm. So our brains are actually programmed to avoid risk, and that risk manifests in hesitation. So, what is the problem I wanted to address in creating that video? I wanted to address the problem of why are people hesitating with pursuing their dreams. So, the psychology to always get into is what is a personal problem I want to solve? And sometimes it's good to always start your video with a question. Sometimes I'd start my video is, are you a woman who is very, very harsh with themselves? Are you the type of person, are you a woman who allows the opinions of other people to hurt you? I've invited a special guest today. She's a female neurolinguistic coach, and she's gonna talk to women about how it is you can fortify your heart. So there, you ask a question. Are you a person searching for a cupcake that is sweet and savory at the same time? This is the video for you to watch. It's always asking what is the problem that you want to be able to solve. Okay, moderator, do we still have time?
Hi Francis, I have one more question from my side. How to market myself in the digital space?
Okay, so to market yourself on the digital space, it's all about being a thought leader. Right now, it's not enough. In fact, it's very irritating if you just push a lot of self-promotion stuff. the way to promote yourself is to promote yourself as a thought leader in the personal branding that you decided that you wanted to own, right? A friend of mine, he's a speaker as well. His name is J. Paul, and his personal branding is all about overcomer. He's an overcomer, which means he teaches people to overcome challenges. So he positions himself as a thought leader in LinkedIn by always posting articles that he sees on how it is you can overcome a difficult situation. He posts his own personal blogs about how to overcome specific things, like how to overcome financial difficulty, how to overcome a bad breakup, how to overcome a health concern. All of it revolves around him building that brand Overcome. So it's all content, it's useful, but as you can see, it's slowly making him the expert of being an overcomer. So if there are HR people looking for a speaker, and they say, okay, I want a speaker to teach my people to overcome the challenges of a difficult budget year. So she's gonna search in LinkedIn, overcome budget difficulties. My friend J. Paul is the one that's gonna pop up in the search engine because that is who he wanted to be. Another friend that I'm working with her name is Karen. She wants to be a book coach. So her job is to help people who dream of publishing their own books to actually create their books. So her main service is she does book coaching. So she establishes herself as an expert in the book coach by only posting content all about book writing. So that's how she builds her expertise. So instead of her, occasionally they'll put out an ad. Let's say they have a workshop, a book writing workshop, but the majority of content they do is all about.
Thank you, Francis. The answer was very wonderful.